Long time no see.
That's true. I was blind for a little while with COVID.
Have you moved in uptown yet? I just wanted to make your day.
He's funny.
I saw you one day out at the corner. You must have been done with your shift, and it was probably about the time Winnebago was like getting out, and you're just sitting there. There's cars coming from both ways. It's like it was a traffic jam 1 mile north of town.
Oh.
Just get real quiet. Not paying much attention to things. No, the story goes we're going to be in there this year.
It'd be pretty late this year.
We were told, like close to Christmas.
I know he applied for another grant.
Yeah, he's applied for another grant. He's we're going to put 3 apartments back there now, 3 studio apartments back there to help pay for the construction of the, but as soon as prices go up, maybe it'll be 4.
I think most of your cost is probably on the roof and things like that.
Roof, basement, mold, not necessarily in that order.
Are we ready to?
Oh, a little after.
Say the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes and agenda.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Dunsvold and seconded by Derby. To approve the minutes and agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Passed. Discussion with possible action regarding COVID-19 policies.
Good morning.
Morning, Julie.
Morning, Julie.
How are you guys today?
Good.
I'm sure this will probably be the last one with that I'll report on positivity rate because they're redoing that and the website's going to be totally different with her ending of the proclamation. So right now, Winnebago County is at 17% with the last 7 days at 65 plus positive cases. Our county is 51% for vaccinated and the state is 60.4. We have that new CMS mandate rule for the vaccination, takes an effect for our office on 2/14. And I have everything in place, I believe, I hope, for when the surveyors will come, and I expect them to probably be here next week, since it will be the first day that mandate comes in place. So, any questions?
What's the new reporting going to be like then, or is there reporting?
We don't have to report negative testing, so that's going to be hard to get your positivity rate. And then we don't. The nursing homes don't have to report to us or the state. They just have to report to CMS.
You know, and a lot of this positive, negative testing is kind of skewed because people are doing a lot at home. And that's
Correct.
Reported.
I believe so. Yep. But we still have to follow the CDC rules and the CMS rules. If I have a positive nurse, they're still out 10 days. They can test at day 7, and if they're negative, they can come back 3 days early in a crisis, and that's even fully vaccinated. So. We're out in the working world, I believe it's 5 days.
Okay.
So if that changes, I will let you know, but I don't. I don't know.
All right.
So Julie, we're still on for the 18th for Board of Health, is that correct?
Yes, we are. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
No time change or anything on that?
Nope, 8 o'clock. Yep.
Thank you.
You bet.
Any other questions for Julie?
Nope.
You guys are doing the budget meetings too? Do you want me there in person or do you want me here? Later on in the
I'm
agenda.
guessing it's more probably if we have a question, we can call you.
Okay, I'll just hang out.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
You bet. Have a good day, guys.
Consider for approval auditors transfers.
Thank you, Bill.
I just wanted to touch them one
I was
more
gonna
time.
say, you're probably missing them.
Oh, my babies.
Beware of the one that has the extra stamp.
I saw it, and
It was a mistake, honest.
it takes a lot of concentration and experience in order to be
I
able
don't
to run
want
those
to pass the
right.
blame, but the way you said them was like this.
Oh, maybe that might have been on purpose, just to throw you off.
We do a lot of pointing around here.
I can see that, yeah. I see it on video, I see it here. See
I'll make a motion to approve the auditor's transfers.
I'll second it.
A motion by Derby, seconded by Jensvold. We have for approval of auditors transfers. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. Look at that.
No,
We get to sign them both then?
no.
It's just the
the
approved, right?
Technically, we did receive it, but we also approved it.
Yeah, see, okay, yeah, you're still right. Yeah, you're okay.
How about if I initial that one?
You don't need to do it. Well, unless, of course, you want to give it some credence and actually sign it, because that'll help Jerry out.
Actually, look, Bill, running out of ink even.
That was just
Yeah.
you gotta have your wrist straight when you
Arthritis is
it's,
killing me.
yeah, no, it's quite a responsibility, and he's still trying to live up to it.
Let's see that. So, number 4, set public hearing for LSA Winnebago County Supervisor Redistricting Report, Plan 1. Made some changes.
Actually, we didn't.
No? I thought there was.
I got
Yeah.
one section in Mount Valley.
The LSA didn't make any changes to our,
They didn't change ours, what we approved for voting.
right. So, February 22nd at 9:10 a.m. So when I'd like the public hearing, please.
Do we need a motion for that?
I'll make a motion to set the public hearing for the LSA County Supervisor Redistricting Report, Plan 1, for February 22nd at 9:10.
I'll second it.
A motion by Derby, seconded by Jensvold. We've set the public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Motion passed. February 22nd. 9:10. All right. Scott. Help me out, guys, with the number.
7530. Well, that's Scott's number here.
It's probably him.
I know he's got a couple of vacations, I don't know if he's in or out.
We need Ethan.
Should be on the list.
I don't think, we don't have an updated list,
Oh,
but here he comes, so. we're
there he
okay.
is.
He was monitoring.
Morning, Ethan.
No, it was pretty early. Meeting. Morning.
What do you have?
Oh, about the normal really, I guess. Caught some snow over the weekend on Saturday. Sunday we didn't have to go out. And yesterday we cleaned some stuff up again. We got those intakes in for that Rice Lake project, so later this week we're gonna try to mock them up a little bit, get them ready for that project.
Where do you store that stuff at Thompson then, or?
Like our pipes and stuff?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's all at Thompson.
At the mechanic shop. In the backyards.
What type of an intake is this then?
A concrete round intake. That's just got a base. So we have punched some holes in it and then concrete around the tile pieces that are gonna be those
Will it
existing
have
ones.
sediment area there, or that has to be cleaned out then? And
It'll have a gap like at the bottom of like the 15-inch pipe that's gonna go south. So for like leaves and debris won't get sucked up in there. So it'll be a little bit of a kind of a project to do in the shop. Just kind of save us some time. One less thing to do out there at Rice Lake when we're out there.
Sure, because there's a surface intake then, right? I mean, is it domed or is it just flat or what is it?
Domed.
Domed? So you'll be able to get that right away in the spring then.
That's our plan, is that'll be the first one
Oh.
to do, and then get some of those other ones.
So you'll use your new,
Mini excavator.
Mini?
Yep.
Cool.
Taking the new mini loader out there a couple times out to Rice Lake to clean up some stuff, push some snow back.
anything else for Ethan? Questions?
No.
Okay,
All right,
it's pretty easy.
sounds good. Have a good day.
Thanks. Auditor's office will discuss drainage matters. Is Chris here today?
Nope.
No? Do we have anything, do you know?
Nope.
All right. Budget meetings?
I just put that on there in case you guys had anything.
So in our budget, did we include both of the boiler requests? Is that all left in there then?
I left everything in there because you guys didn't cut anything out.
I thought we were talking about this, if we did a boiler, it would just be the one,
We talked.
never made a decision.
Yeah.
Did he have,
Unless, of course,
did Kevin have prices or what did he come up with or was those just,
they had some ballpark guesses, you know, unless you can get, you know, 2-for-1 sale or something like that, where you get a discount on one. You get a better bid maybe if you get two both of them at the same time, be the only reason to do it. But it sounds like it's the one outside is the one that's most pressing to replace.
Is it something we wanna talk to Kevin about right now and discuss it, or? Or not? Okay.
How's the budget is working with the levies we have the way it is right now, right? So if we could leave it in there and not do it, I guess. See, I thought it was red lights flashing.
Paramedic than the ambulance.
Okay.
Seems to be a big need for EMS.
Yes.
Imagine that.
Big demand and low supply. The other night we were operating to get without it.
Okay.
My wife said something about it.
Any other discussions that we need to have about budget?
The only thing I can think of is if we were going to, any part of the budget that we would utilize the COVID monies for, so. Because, we had planned on what we did last year, in this fiscal year, refunding it from the TIF fund, is that right?
Say that again?
The project we did this year. In the next budget, it's scheduled to be refunded by TIF.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, with the state of TIF, is that gonna be doable? There'll
Should
be
be.
there for that.
Is that really hasn't come down yet on that, is it?
Is that court case?
Yeah.
No.
Is any, who's following that, or how do we follow that court case? Be interesting.
I'm guessing we'll find out as soon as something comes
I
out.
bet we will too.
It'll be big.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what that court case is?
I thought Schifrin versus Deliego was great, yes.
Our court case.
Oh, your court case.
It's not
I
ours.
thought that was.
It's not ours, the one we're concerned about.
Okay, which one is that?
So that we TIF'd our turbines, project years ago, and we're making payments on it. We were gaining and gaining, and all of a sudden, they repowered the turbines on the west of town. And then they, found a loophole where they can go back to zero on their taxes and ramp up over the next 6 years because they called it substantial, substantial redo. They left the stem, the concrete, all the wiring, they call it substantial. But yet, when they talk to their landowners that they are on, they tell it, well, it's just maintenance. So this it depends on what benefits them. So we're losing some taxes on that. Well, in Story County, they decided to challenge it. They said, no, it's not substantial, and you will be paying full taxes.
It's brand new. I mean, not just substantial, right?
Down
They're
there,
calling it
was
brand new.
replaced. They did the same thing they did here. They just didn't accept their reasoning that it's substantial.
Mm-hmm.
So the company is suing them because they think they should get the tax breaks.
And which company is this?
So we're waiting on that.
Who's the company?
Huh?
Who's the company?
I don't know if that's, I guess I couldn't tell that the Mid-American or Reliant or whoever.
Just look for Story County versus
Yeah.
some
Versus
electrical
the
outfit.
turbines.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, so it's Mid-American.
Inform us.
I'm all over this, no problem.
But, we just, our assessor decided that we can't afford the lawsuit. So she just went along with it, along with Hancock, same turbine farm. We just don't have the resources to fight it.
Well, especially since there was one already in litigation that we can
Well, at that time,
watch.
when she made the decision,
There wasn't.
it wasn't.
Oh, it was just too expensive to,
Yeah, she
Fight?
just decided it's too expensive for a little county like us to fight. So.
that's what they count on.
Yeah.
Though, that's the sad part, that's what they count on.
Oh, they're good neighbors.
You think?
But it puts a black eye on the turban people for doing this, you know?
That may have been tongue in cheek.
I was wondering what was in your coffee. Seriously. So it's Story County's, are they going solo on this?
They're
Against,
being sued, yeah. And I suppose they had to get outside counsel for it.
okay, I'll look it up, tear it apart, call a few people in legal, see what we can come up with. Keep you guys informed. I'll send the story through Carla, she can distribute it, she's awfully good about that.
My guess is that the company's gonna wanna push it right along to get their tax breaks.
Yeah.
Was there any kind of clarification by the county as to what is a substantial redo and
There
what
is,
is maintenance?
there's a draft of a bill out there that would rectify some of this, and it would clarify what substantial is. And they made it sound like in that bill, if it was to pass, which sounds like complications with it. Sounds like substantial would include replacing all the underground wire, the concrete, the stem.
So it has to follow a certain set of categories. And
Yeah, if that passed, but it's just a draft.
Because all they're doing now is just replacing the blades and,
The head section and the blades.
yeah,
So that.
And calling it-
And the blades.
and then calling it new so that the taxes can start over, not calling it
And when
refurbished.
we say taxes, it's not all the taxes, it's just a portion of the taxes up here. You know, the rest of it's still being taxed. We still collect on that, it's just the one part of it goes back to zero, then
Which
20.
valuation ahead of each one of them means they're all bigger, I guess it's gotta be a better part of it.
And then they claim that it's cheaper now, so to me, there shouldn't have been very much.
I can't believe that there's anything too much cheaper. I mean,
But they have to claim, because this is a double-edged sword for them, because if they say it's expensive, then they eventually have to pay more taxes on it.
Can this august body of three individuals pass some resolution that mandates what is massive changes, minor changes, changes in general?
Well, the one idea she had come up with was put a moratorium on how many kilowatts we have in the county. So if they upgrade, they're over the max.
They're over the max,
Then
and
we would have control to,
a new contract.
otherwise we don't have any control.
there are other counties that have done that have just put a set of max on the output.
And if you want to go above that max, you have to go through the Board of Supervisors to do it.
I'm just curious because everybody passed the Second Amendment county thing and all of a sudden now the state's taking it up and it seems to be rolling right through.
See that?
But I'm curious if the counties were to get together and say, okay, look, this is the maximum in renovations, this is the minimum.
And home rule says we can do that, but, I mean, we can do the kilowatt.
The kilowatt.
I'm not sure if we can, I suppose through an ordinance, we could probably define that. We don't have an ordinance in that area.
So we get Kelsey in on this and see what she says, and
She's a little tied up right now.
I can imagine.
It does help to answer the people that ask all the time, how many is too many? You know, and when do you stop? Well, we've set a maximum. So, you know, 10 little ones, 3 big ones, whatever, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, wanna try this again, we can always embargo our roads so they can't get there.
Well, I'm curious now, if you put a limit on the amount of electricity that's generated, would then that mean that they can't construct anymore, which means we hurt ourselves in the tax and increment financing side of things, because there's not as many?
But we didn't even tip the last group,
I see.
so we're distributing the taxes accordingly to the different entities, the school and the NAC and county.
And the tip part is what hurts on those, because we, had we not tipped them, it wouldn't be as dramatic, I guess, or whatever. But we did, so.
The bad thing for us is, the year that they did this, we're caught less taxes on that, but we haven't started the taxes on the new part. That's next year.
So as it stands, no matter what size of fans they put on those things, we, as a county, don't have any control.
At this point. And they've already rebuilt the other one, but they haven't filed for abatement on that yet.
We would throw off some of their setback stuff, because with the bigger ones, they had to have bigger setbacks.
But I think the wording on that permitting was a certain setback. It was based on a size, but then they increased the size, but they didn't have to identify that,
And what are they telling the landowners?
that it's maintenance.
That it's maintenance.
That's the part I have a hard time with. Because if it's substantial rebuilding, then they have to have a new contract with the landlord. And they didn't want to go there, so they call it maintenance.
Is this word of mouth or is this on paper?
Well,
The word of mouth is what they told the landowners.
right.
So there's no signed agreement that says that this is maintenance?
I'm sure it's a gray area in there on purpose. I've not read the agreements that they have.
What's their benefit in telling them that it was just maintenance?
They don't have
They don't
to
have
have
to.
a whole.
They
See,
don't have to have bigger.
technically, they had one landowner that was challenging while you're cutting across my field.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to stay on that easement.
Yeah.
And they called it maintenance. Well, when you're cutting across, that's another easement. And he was challenging that, and he said, oh, we're just doing maintenance.
And if it was worded as a complete, like repowering or whatever,
Then they have to.
then would they have to redo the contracts with the farmers?
And it's gonna be higher, probably.
'Cause that's what I was worried about, that it was their end game.
Okay, call me kind of out of left field here, but if it's on paper that they're calling it maintenance out in the field, but they're telling you something entirely different, can that
Well,
not
this
be
decision
challenged?
by the assessor was a year ago.
Okay.
So, and all this, came about lately, so. It might reflect on her, if she wants to challenge the next group to come in. They are not filing those papers probably until they find out how the story
I'll
comes
bet they won't either. They'll wait and see what happens down
They have
there.
probably till the end of the year to file those papers.
Because everybody's gonna be watching that and how to go forward.
So the county itself can't set any ordinances against, except for power,
Well, we don't know
against
that for sure.
It just seemed like that just seemed like a rational thing to me. Just set a limit on how much.
But that's fine and dandy, but it's not gonna reflect anything on this farm out there that's already been repowered.
Right.
No, it's too late for that.
How can you confirm the amount of wattage that's being produced?
You can go on a website, you can look at the whole state and find out, probably even up in Minnesota.
Does the assessor have that
You can click
information
on
too?
each turbine and I have it probably on my phone, the site that you can go to, and you can click on each turbine, it should tell you the size of the blades and on the wattage it's supposed to be.
But if speed, it's
No, I'm talking about capacity.
capacity. Okay, so we're going with capacity.
Interesting.
Just want to make sure I get my story straight. You know how I am.
Where's,
Even at a lower wind speed, they can create full capacity. These adjust the blades. As the winds pick up, they just slow it down.
I didn't know that.
Which is why they're going 100 miles an hour in 5-mile-an-hour winds.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Because they're cupping as much in the air as you can.
Really? That's curious. I didn't know that.
That's why when you see turbines, when there's one blade straight down, they're doing maintenance, everything's locked.
Some of the curves just at the very end of it pivots. I don't know if the ones here have got that on. It seems like they're straight blades here. I have seen them with just the very tip of it
Yeah, I've seen that
rotates
too.
and they control a lot.
Well, it'll be interesting. Be interesting if you find out anything about that too.
Watch me.
So back to my question, sounds like we're able to accomplish that through existing availability. Yes.
Okay. So ordinance are possible by this board, but we're waiting to see what happens with story before we move on with our story.
It's kind of all new right now.
It's all new.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else under?
I'd like to go back to the boilers.
Oh, yes.
The only reason we've got quotes for the boilers and the chillers is because we thought we could use the ARPA funds. And if we don't need all 4 boilers and chillers, why get them at this point? If we can lower the taxes even more and just get the one boiler that we absolutely need,
We don't even absolutely need that.
right. So I think we need to talk to Kevin and see what we really do need and what we don't need and figure out what we do need. And
Should we call them in here then?
Can we have time right now to do that because we don't have anything until 10:30 anyway, if Kevin's available? You've got him on your phone?
To me, if we've had plenty of capital expenditures the last couple of years, it'd be nice to just take a year off. I mean, if the boiler absolutely had to be replaced, even with the failure we had here a while back, that wasn't really the boiler, that was the computer. It's still functioning. It's just that in theory, it's getting near the end of its life. The people that sell them usually tell you that.
Just want to make sure I can put down the right one.
it's 5905703.
It is 590, okay. So I had it under Kevin Williams before. And,
I don't think
I do have it.
the other Kevin.
It's on the sheet there.
I thought his personal one was 2x1.
Right there it is.
Several Kevins, but not.
Hi, Kevin. Do you have time to talk to us about boilers? No, we're in the boardroom. No, that would be best if you were here. Yeah, if you want. All right, thanks. He's gonna turn around, drive up here.
Oh, is he heading somewhere already?
He must have been on his route, so. Other buildings. one thing about it is if something did happen to the boiler and we haven't allocated the ARPA funds middle of the year, at least we have the funds we could use on it.
That's true.
Because even if we do start moving forward with ARPA, you know, it's not all gonna be in the first year.
I've had quite a few phone calls about ARPA funds this week. People are thinking, talking.
So what do they think?
Quite a few of them were from the education, for in favor of the education, major education center. 2 EMS. 1 public health. Right at 4 for the education center. All people who had donated their own funds to.
I sent an email to you guys last week, can't remember, and I didn't get a response, and that really kind of frustrated me. I don't send something to you guys unless I really have a reason to, and a response back would have been appreciated, and it really upset me that I didn't get a response from any of you. And
I thought the response that you were asking for was for us to put something on the agenda.
I was just asking for you to acknowledge me, to talk to me, tell me why. That's what I was wanting. I wanted a response to me as a person. That's what I was looking for.
Okay, noted.
I had already talked to you.
Yeah, I apologize, that wasn't into you, Bill. I had talked to you already.
Hey, Kevin.
How you guys doing?
Good.
You were on our way out.
So we took you away from something, sorry about
We're
that.
almost, wasn't that big deal.
Oh, there, right? Our timing is bad again.
No problem.
We're discussing the boilers and whether we should put one in the budget or not. As far as think that they'll, sail for a year or two, or?
We put the new gas valve on it last March, and that brain that failed, and then they warrantied that. So,
We've had lots of capital expenditures in the last couple of years.
sure. I mean, it is due. It's from 1990. We have to babysit it if we don't do it, which I'm okay with, as long as, you know, you guys know what's going on.
Maybe
Which means I
as
come,
far
I come,
as-
when it's 10 degrees or below,
Yeah,
I come up here and poke my head in there, and then I come in here and just look on the HVAC, make sure everything's, can't have a failure.
yeah. Well, one thing that I know they make things that can do that, we should have something that if the
Yes.
temperature gets so low, it rings into your phone.
Freeze sensor, yeah.
So I've got thermal cubes in a couple of
Yep.
houses that I'm watching.
Yep.
That, as soon as it gets to 50 degrees in that house, if it doesn't send me a message on my phone. It turns on a light in the window and all the neighbors of the houses know enough to call me.
That's an alert though.
But yeah, they have things that could do that.
Yep. I looked loosely into that, and the reason I haven't done anything yet with it is because I think we need to talk with Brody to see because I read some reviews on some of the cheaper models that said they're always trying to reset the Wi-Fi. It became more of a pain in the rump than more of a
Technical.
So maybe we want to look at something that's good, legit. Then I would say that, yeah, I mean,
Well,
we could put an alert on
honestly, as many phones as needed to be, really. But mine, Rick's, a couple, one on Carla's, and, you know, that little building down there too, that used to be our building that we put our tractors in. We could even put a sensor in there, I mean, if you know, because we'd have the same issue there if that went down, I mean.
Well, with what's at risk, having a decent one probably is justifiable. You know, especially here, if that thing had gone down earlier in the weekend,
We'd have been in trouble.
we'd have frozen pipes in this building.
Wouldn't have been a good thing.
Wouldn't have been a good thing.
Ours is that we have at the farm is through WCTA.
Okay,
They actually install it and maintain it, you know, I mean, it's an older model, but it calls TJ's number first,
Yep.
and if he doesn't pick up, it calls mine, if I don't pick up, it, you know, I think it can go to 5 people or something.
and just I mean, in the meantime, just to kind of see what was the activity in that boiler room out there compared to the activity in here, as we went out to Baumgart's and we bought just a little standalone hygrometer, and then it has a sensor we can put in there. There's no, like yours, there's no alert to it, but we can, while we're sitting in the office, we you know, on a cold day, you can tell because the temp in there goes down a little bit. The other thing would be like, where's the set level? Yeah, because it gets down 49 degrees in that building with the boiler in there on those super cold days.
So
That's-
if I'm not, I think we have thermostats that go to
Sure.
4 different rooms, and you can monitor, you know.
That's, I would say that's the way to do it. Then I think honestly, I mean, at some point we do need to do it.
It's just another phone line. I think it's a phone line.
They have
you
to
know.
be inspected every year, right?
The boiler is
Boilers.
inspected, yes, and we get a boiler
Okay,
certificate,
to get to the point where
Yeah.
then you have to do something.
Yes. yes. So we get the new controller unit, the burner control, which I would call the brain. We have him inspect, we have the boiler tech come up every year, annually too, in November, 1st of December. He came up, and he came up before the gas valve went down too, so things do happen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's working the base,
Electronics, that's the part.
Yeah.
You never can count on them all the time.
yeah. I mean, it's mechanical. And that's why I was like Saturday morning when I'm going to my shop or something, I'll wheel in here and pop my head in there. And if it's not running at that point, I might stay for 10 or 15 minutes to wait for a cycle.
Yeah.
Because it could, you know, it could be in the middle of not working. So, I mean, there's a little babysitting to it, but until we get that alert, then we've got to do that.
Yeah. Well, and I think the alert is going to be much cheaper than boiler.
Oh, for sure.
So if we can prolong the life by having an alert, so if something happens here.
Yep. I mean, the inspectors giving us the new certificate every time. And the inspector has, McGinnis, C.H. McGinnis has come up annually and looked at, and he knows what's going on now. He's retiring. And I asked him, I figured this last time an apprentice would be with them, but he said they'll just come from Des Moines. He goes, they're good techs, but so like, we have a problem. You know, it's gonna be 2 hours before we get here. But,
So what does happen then, though? So the boiler dies in the middle of the night, and we figure that out.
I've
How
come in-
quickly how do you get heat in here in the meantime?
well,
A lot of electric heaters.
honestly, space heaters, when that happened, I told Carla to go turn everyone that you guys have at your desk on. We gotta get some kind of heat going in here. So,
Be enough
So
to
other
get
than
anyway.
a NIPCO heater or
Yes.
whatever out in the boiler, there's
to
just.
be honest with you guys, what saved us was that building over there. And the heat coming from it.
The
On
residual
the
heat.
boiler.
But the loop hadn't froze yet. So the loop in here acted kind of in reverse. When the heat was coming down, it was keeping the boiler loop from freezing. But when we got going, I told the guys from Larson's, I said, I heard things in the pipe that I never heard before. He goes, there's
Some slush.
there's some slush rolling around there. So,
Thanks.
and when I called the guy, I called him twice, C.H. McGinnis that morning, I said, instantly. You gotta put down what you're doing and come up. And he said, what's the problem? I said, the brain says internal failure number 25. He goes, oh, okay, we'll be up there. There's nothing I was gonna do.
Yeah.
There's nothing that I could have done to,
There's no way to manually turn it on.
so he said he'll be on his way. And I'm like, okay.
That's the trouble with computerized stuff.
And then in the meantime, I did call Larson and say, hey man, what can I, in this room out here? And he goes, you gotta get heat out there. So I went out and bought a couple of space heaters. They're not great, but maybe we get a little LP tank heater if it ever happens again. That'll cost me a couple $100 out of the budget, but I haven't done it yet.
I've got a little LP,
Yeah.
like a NIPCO heater.
Just, yeah, like a,
It's LP, then you have a
yeah, it's puts out,
regular grill bottle,
Yep.
20 pound or
it
whatever.
puts
they are.
CO2 out, but if the building's gonna freeze, we need to get heat here any way we could. But the boiler out here isn't imminently gonna fail next year. But it's like an old tire tractor, I suppose, you could repower and your weekends feel a lot better on the weekends when you weren't thinking about it.
I think that this board is just go ahead with getting some type of an alarm system, and.
Look into it and get a decent one that is,
I think so.
and the ones I looked at were a couple $100,
Even if we got new boilers can fail too.
They can.
So, I mean,
That's right.
having that insurance policy to
Yeah.
me is,
Yep.
it seems
Yep.
very
I'd
reasonable.
call over to WCTA and just see what their program is now, because, we had to put a landline though,
Yep.
into those spaces.
We got a couple landlines, don't we?
Talk to Brody.
Because we got a landline for the elevator.
Yeah.
And there's something else that's on the landline. I mean, I don't know if they can cross or anything. They probably have to install that.
Everybody feel better if you got that going?
They make them that they could probably even have their own little cell phone in them or whatever. But
Sure.
temperature gets so low, it'll just send out a signal.
Yeah.
They wouldn't need to be, I'm guessing they make wireless ones.
I bet they do too.
But the outside one is the oldest. And
Yes.
then it's the other one. And then tell me about the chillers.
The chiller out here, this one right out here is the newest one. I think we commissioned it in 2018, 17 or 18. That's good. The chiller on the rooftop out here, I've kind of snooped around on some of the paperwork. I believe 2009, 10, in there, 11 maybe.
And that runs which?
And that runs this. So the way it works is that the new building has the four pipes, which means a return and a send for hot and a return and a send for cool. So we can give them heat and cool at the same time. Say, March, it's cold in the morning, and
The north side is.
yeah, the bottom floors are, my feet are cold. Okay, we can give them heat, and then heat rises, and say the third is 75, 76 degrees. We could cool it at the same time. We generally just don't do that because it's technical, and it's only going to be a matter of a few days that people are going to be uncomfortable. Over here on this side, there's only two pipes going through all the registers, a send and a return. And so that's why there's always that 2-week thing in the fall where we gotta commit to shutting the boiler off because the nights are freezing and the days might get up to 70. So there is that time where it's, you might have to sweat a day or two out. Same thing in the spring. The nights might be cool, so we can't necessarily start cooling it. So what we do is we isolate the boiler. We take that out of the loop. So there's one loop, there's a pump, there's one loop, and then the boiler and the chiller are tied into that loop. And then we isolate them with valves, so we shut that off. So come March, April, we will, when it's time to shut the boiler down, we'll click it off. We'll throw the valves to isolate that from the loop, and then we'll open the valves for the chiller. And of course, we'll have Larson's come and we put antifreeze in it every year to keep it from freezing, because it obviously can't freeze. So they come and they put that RV antifreeze in it every year. So what me and Rick will do, we'll hook the hose to it, we'll flush it out, and then we'll start changing over to the chiller. Okay, so last year, when we fired the chiller up, we'd have to look back, but we put 100 and some pounds, I think, of coolant in it. So it has issues to it, which means there was a leak. So now we're talking a leak over X amount of years, a pinhole probably, but
It had leaked out while it was not being used?
well, in the fall,
You put it in when?
last year, like a
In the
month
spring?
in the spring.
So the compressor on there, when they're not being used, sometimes they'll leak out the seal
Yep.
when they're starting to get somewhat worn. And when they're running, they're fine.
Yep.
And when they set, they,
So like, I mean, be prepared, we might have to dig into that a little bit. I mean, but it's still gonna be cheaper than, it was
that
like
could still
18, it
just
was,
be a new compressor on it too, you know,
Yeah.
not the whole
Yep.
unit, so.
Yep. I mean, what I'm saying is I might have to have train up here. If we fire it up and it's not cooling, it's leaking coolant, whatever that is, whether that be the compressor or whatnot. We talked about in the fall, which would be last fall, maybe having them come back up and drain all the coolant out, then pressurize it, and then mist it for the find the leak, the pinhole. And sometimes you can do that, but now it wasn't really up to me, so it didn't happen last fall, but, so, I mean, there's things like that we might have to do to string it out. But you get the hole plugged, and you get any parts fixed, it should do its thing.
When they sit for periods of time and they lose their oil.
Car air conditioner.
It's the same thing with a car air conditioner, a home air conditioner.
I mean, when we go to fire that up, we're gonna be sweating, proverbially speaking, because
So what's a compressor cost for something like that?
I'm not sure. Less than a complete,
Yeah,
much less.
I wouldn't think it'd be much more than $2,500.
I was gonna say 2,000-3,000 probably, plus then the trip and then the labor, but still,
Yeah, it's still expensive.
it's still less though than
Much less than a new unit.
a new unit. I mean, we got the numbers.
One thing to talk about it, if something happened catastrophic where we had to replace something, we might have the backup of the ARPA monies to
Sure.
cover it. So.
Sure. I don't think that's really gonna happen. I mean, we might have to throw some money at it if it does. Like, we changed the gas valve, we changed the little brain unit. There's igniters in there and a burner and all that. Who knows, I don't know what that would be, but,
So is there
and I don't think that's ever been changed for the duration of the.
if we were to pull the capital projects out of it and do we have to put money into the maintenance part of it just in case?
I would say that's probably what it,
And how much?
and how much.
Well, how much did they warranted that brain that just went out, so there was probably no expense there, but how much would that have cost? Got it,
Well,
the new brain,
the gas valve brain was like $3,800. That was
so
March.
I mean, we should at least probably put 5,000 to 10,000 extra in the maintenance, just in case you get something can be.
Well, yeah, if we put 10,000 in there and then we also get that monitoring equipment.
I would agree,
Yeah.
because that gives us a little bit more, better feeling about it this spring. And I think we'd have to look back, but I think it was like 3,300 was the train charge for coming up and they put on like 100 pounds in that coolant. If I'm not mistaken,
And it was in short supply.
yeah. It was 100, maybe it was 117. And I could be off on that number, but
There's absolutely no reason for you to say that.
Oh, was it Freon that you put in? No.
R22?
it was,
Assume it was.
whatever, I'd have to look on the sheet, but it's the new stuff, I see.
Oh, yeah, they probably got a newer one.
It's like, what,
R1.
Yeah.
I think that's the
Oh, 134A and
you know,
automobile.
automotive, but,
Okay.
it used to be R22 in like home
Yeah,
Systems.
R22.
systems, but I don't know if they came out with.
I don't know on
since
that.
then either, so
We went from R12 to 134A in the car industry.
you know what I have in my air conditioning system of my semi? LP.
Oh,
It's really cheap, works better. You know what, the International Harvester had deep freezes refrigerators that ran for decades. The thing would rust out before the compressor would quit. They had anhydrous ammonia in those. They must have knew how to make good seals back then, because you never smell, and you don't take much of that to smell it.
Right. Well, you wish or think they would make stuff like that now, but really, I don't know if they do. I think they got it figured out.
Well, yeah, unfortunately,
Yeah.
it isn't in our favor.
Yeah.
Just like
Well, the
everything.
good thing about air conditioning is we can stand heat in the building. It's not gonna hurt too
Right.
much more.
Yeah,
than
no,
it
yeah,
goes
the air
to the-
conditioner goes, we can suffer.
Yeah.
the heat
Turn on
needs
some
more.
fans.
Other than uncomfortable people, the difference is the building won't be
I
frozen.
really think that we should look into getting something to, because that would be,
That was-
you're talking thousands of dollars to repair all the pipes.
Not good.
Just go around and borrow everybody's NIPCOs.
Like,
Call up the
what
supervisors.
what do you want us to do as a contingency for it? Just wait on it and then I have a little bit of freedom to go out and buy a couple NIPCOs if I need to, or?
What-
Like,
Right down in your boiler room down there you're talking about, what happens if you took like a electric garage heater, like a 220 one? Is there any way to wire 220?
see, that's the thing, yeah, that's the thing, we need to have that circuit probably wired in there. I mean, there's a box in there, but I don't think there's 220.
A couple of 110 heaters won't keep that warm in there.
They pull about 1,500 watts and it's just,
It's too much.
you're
for the-
defeating,
there's not
yeah.
Everything's on one breaker in there, I suppose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I anticipated, and I plugged one in there, and I ran a extension cord from another outlet outside there, and when the doors open, it pretty much, there's a point of diminishing returns with 1,500 watts.
Yeah, that's where, if
Because
you,
I was just thinking about if you safer to have electric heater.
It would. Yeah.
I don't know, would it be worth trying to get Stecker in here to look at it and see if we can pull a circuit?
Sure
in there or
can.
something?
I'll ask them. Yep,
yeah, if you
Or
put,
double one of them up to,
yep,
probably be a little liability issue with using a gas heater in a small area like that. I mean,
Yep.
it's, just your regular grill cylinder and a,
So if we put the circuit in and then we ever had a problem, then at least I could go get the 220 electric heater, I mean, to keep that from freezing. And if that doesn't freeze, the building would be cold, but as long as we keep that loop from freezing, it wouldn't.
yeah.
Is that's, I was wondering, if you keep that heated, it's, as long as that doesn't freeze.
It can still freeze back, it would still freeze back this way, like, you know.
It's
Yeah.
17
And when that loop
below.
freezes, that's when you're gonna, then we'd have to shut it off, because you'd be blowing pipe ends out.
Well, getting something that will tell us when it's shut off, and also we should probably prepare for
Right.
that.
Well,
Right.
And get that wiring done,
Yep.
and get that heater in
Yes,
there.
yep.
That should be
Yep.
something we should probably put in the budget.
So if we do that, if we talk to Arvin and put a 220 in there, I mean, I don't even have to buy the heater yet, right? Or would you, I would, whatever you guys would recommend,
Well, I would, because you never know when it's gonna happen, and
just have it there.
if you went down to wherever you were gonna get the heater and they didn't have one, then you'd be running around, and it would be another hour or two
Right.
where it was cold in there, and I would think I would head it off.
Okay.
So if we ever had this problem again, we've got the wiring and the heater in place.
Okay.
And, I mean, yeah, would it be cheaper just to get a cylinder and a little unvented, little LP NIPCO?
Then you're dealing with CO2 and,
You know, you might even be better just to get a regular, kerosene one then, just a regular NIPCO heater, because you don't have to worry about the gas in a sense.
right, kerosene is less.
Yeah, it's not,
explosive, it's,
it's not gonna fill the room. But the best route would be to have an electric heater in there already ahead of time.
Or one of those arrestor type heaters where you've got chimney going out.
Yeah.
80% efficiency.
sure. We do, I mean, I think a lot of new places do the, like, and Kevin even advocated for the two boiler system. Like we have the two pumps, where that way you're not down. If one goes down, and they are kind of
In that same area.
yeah, they are A and B. So this one will run for $600. When the $600 comes up the brain, goes click, and then this one will go through all the stages and fire up. And like right now, the new one we got down here, there's pumps on an A and B. So this one will run 160 hours and click off, and then this one will run. So they had the idea right. They're just running off one source of heat or cool. But the other thing, if we get the freeze sensor in there, I mean, all these things are going to help us to manage it better.
Yeah.
I mean, I would stop doing whatever I'm doing and come up here if I got that order.
Yeah, I mean, once instead of getting there and it's already down to 32 degrees,
That's right.
You get there when it's still 50 degrees and you got some time to save things.
That's right.
Yeah, you think
When that happened, you were battling it by yourself because I was on COVID leave at that time, so.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any?
So I didn't get firsthand experience on any of that, but-
Monitoring system this year.
Just like the sensor, type 3 sensor. It all depends on exactly how much it is, but yeah, I think so.
Might be worth checking into it now, see
Yeah,
if it's affordable for this.
Yeah. I think so.
The nice thing about the WCTA one, unless they've changed it, is it's a temperature one. It's also can be set for sound or movement
Okay.
too. So if there's an explosion,
Right.
it would call you because of the noise
Sure.
level too. So I
What-
think you can set those different ones.
So what type of sensor is this? Is this it's just on a phone line in that room up there? It would be on the wall. It would just
It's an actual
Say
phone
the
line, yeah.
thermostat.
And then wires come out of it to where you ever want it to go to, so it can monitor
Okay.
that room, or that room. I mean, that's how we have it in 3 different
Sure.
spaces.
So I suppose the new version of that would be wireless.
I probably, because this is 12 years old.
So, I guess I could snoop around and look into some of that stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And that was when we needed them to call phone lines too,
Right.
so now,
Right.
you're right, probably just call
I think-
whatever number you want in it.
I think if we find the right one, it can be Wi-Fi.
Sure it can.
That way, I mean, whoever wanted it on their phone really could have it. I mean, it wouldn't be.
You could have it alert 20 people.
I think you can.
As long as the electricity hasn't gone out.
Right. Right.
I heard a story about the Reliant office that.
Yeah.
Electricity went down, they couldn't get into their building, because punch code went
Right. Right.
key fob.
No keys.
Right.
We've all smarted ourselves with this stuff.
Well, you gotta have
Keeps
kind of.
getting worse every day.
It's just like the back end.
We still have doors that we have keys to.
Back
I
in
think
the
that's a
my
good thing.
Suburban. You cannot open that thing. There's no key thing to open it or anything. You won't say, once that switch goes back in there, you have to crawl in the back and take the whole inside of the door apart. And, what a pain in the butt. And then
That's
you
a pain in the
there's a little thing that you can manually get it open.
Been there, done that.
Oh, yeah,
I'll
yeah.
bet.
It's just,
Well, any of these things would make me feel a little better about, we once we get new,
yeah, but even new can fail.
It can,
I-
it can.
I think that is.
Especially the
Electronic stuff, it's,
especially the electronic stuff. So anything we get now would carry over forward into that.
Yeah.
As
Yep.
well.
Yep.
So I think it's a good investment. I think it's good thinking.
That was a scary morning for all of us when we walked in here and it was that cold.
Trust me, when I walked in there and opened the door, that was my birthday.
Oh.
Happy birthday.
That was on COVID leave then too.
You were? Yeah, that's right. You were. Yeah, Rick was too.
I kept calling him because I felt good, but
Yeah,
Well,
All right, well, I
It worked
think if
out,
you
so I'm pretty.
Right.
pursue
I'm
that
moving
stuff.
on.
I think 10,000 should,
Yes.
extra in the budget should cover that, we could drop out the boilers.
That will, yeah,
And coolers.
I think if we're not gonna get the boiler, we should do that.
Yeah.
And all that stuff will be relevant with anything that we do.
All right,
Right, so that's,
Thank you.
Guys,
thank you.
thank you guys.
Still on our radar.
All right, well, you guys have a good afternoon.
You too.
What the cost of a dual boiler system versus a single boiler.
I could see where that'd be really cool,
You know,
wouldn't
they're
it?
making them smaller now and more efficient, so.
Oh, the one, we just put it in our church. There used to be 3 monstrosities in there, now there's just one by one.
How big is it for your church then? Just,
Oh, that's big, hardly, yeah, it's not much bigger than that.
wow.
It's,
That's what I have in my basement, it's just,
the real issue we're having is that, you know, that you gotta have a little fluid, it's all floor heat.
oh, okay,
And it goes,
that's the way mine.
and there's a small leak somewhere, probably only gonna get worse.
So you have to
How do you
monitor
find it, how do
your-
you fix it?
You gotta monitor your water pressure, and when it gets down to say 12 PSI, you have to fill it up again.
And that's the way my boiler is at home. I've got hot water heat. And it also doubles as an on-demand hot water heater, but that wasn't a good idea, because now everybody can take 2-hour showers. Hot water never runs out. But yeah, once it drops down to, yeah, it just won't run. So I get a little valve, pressure it back up again.
Well,
So you'll put 10,000 in the, extra in the maintenance, but we'll take the other off.
So do you wanna put in a small amount, like 10,000, so we can start saving up for boilers, or do you wanna,
Capital outlay.
yeah?
that's probably a good idea.
What was the amount we'd be taking out then?
Let me see.
But it was considerable, if I remember right,
Yeah,
100,000 or more.
I think I have it somewhere, I don't know that I have it in here.
Earlier, you were snickering under your breath when you were looking at your phone there, AJ. Which one of us was the butt of the joke?
A nun with a gambling habit was sentenced to prison for stealing $835,000 from the school.
That's what you were chuckling about earlier?
She says, God made me do it for the benefit of the children.
Sure.
These are the news things that come across at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning that you just sit there, you know, at the edge of your bed and just, okay, that's even better.
What?
Warren Trucking.
Warren Trucking?
Warren Trucking. They used to haul all of John Deere's stuff,
Warren Transport.
transport.
I used to work for Warren Transport.
Did he just get sentenced for not, he would take money out of the people's checks but not submit to the government or something?
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me.
I haven't
didn't-
seen,
I only worked for him for a few months, and I'm like, hey, man, it's not this.
well, Warren, I haven't even seen Warren Transport.
Yeah, you used to see the trucks on the road all the time.
You know, this guy from Thompson parks at the hometown market all the time. He hauls for Valley or something.
Yeah.
And
That
he's
big
only got John Deere.
John Deere head that's sitting there right now?
You can want, as you're going into Waterloo, going down,
On the east side.
the Avenue of the Saints there, they're off on the right-hand side there. That's where their drop lot was, well, the trailers, but I haven't been down that way in a while either, so. I've figured out that, in a hurry, that there was a lot of money in all of that stuff in it, but it wasn't getting anywhere near the trucks,
You didn't see any of it, huh?
the drivers. You get somewhere, when you're talking to a dealer, then you ask him what it cost you to have that, well, I know the cotton picker all over the California ones.
Mid-American.
Got it.
Oh, that's what he had to pay for the load, what the truck was getting, somebody was cutting it.
All those middlemen, all those middlemen.
Well, it was probably more.
How well I know. So it's 236 for the boiler and chillers.
That's one boiler and 2 chillers, or what was that?
2 boilers, 2 chillers.
2 and 2?
I was in the ballpark, I remember.
Yeah. What was the Mid-American that you were looking
Well,
at?
it's the wrong article. There was, in Mid-American suing Madison County over ordinance
Oh,
back in January.
Oh, you're looking for that
Trying to
Story
find
County one?
I'll find it.
So then if we wanna, we drop 236 out, leave 10 in there for the alarm system and some heaters.
And possible repairs.
Yeah, and another 10 for,
Maybe even, I mean, if we wanna do,
you could even leave like a,
even if we wanted to do 50, I mean, if we're
yeah.
gonna do it in the next few years, we got,
and if you don't have to do it, I guess the money's always still there, but,
Technically, it can't carry over in his budget, but we're banking it,
but we can,
carrying it over.
so that'd be like a fifth of the price. The price will go up, of course, but at least then it'd be a fifth of it, maybe in 5 years. Yeah, if you're banking some of that. I think that's a smart idea.
maybe in 5 years, we'll have some people with some brains in charge of things, you know, we won't have inflation.
I thought you were talking about this boardroom.
Why, there's no brains here. Well, I'll speak for myself.
Building that active imagination of yours.
Jim Ullman was in with a request for the Historical Society.
Yeah, you gave us a thing.
Huh?
Did you give us a thing last week?
It was there last
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
Did you wanna do anything with that?
It's the same as last year, right? From the right?
You ended up giving him 2,000 last year, he wants 3,000 this
Oh,
year.
it's 3, okay, I was thinking.
He asked for 3 last year, but you told him to go to Hancock County and see if he get some from Hancock, so,
He did, it was last.
yeah.
It's a 50% increase, that's pretty big.
But last year we cut it by 60%.
We gave him 2 last year.
Hi,
Hi, how are you guys?
good, how are you?
Hello.
Just looking forward to the day.
Can I sit there?
Now that's your spot.
I was just wondering what.
So, well, we got a
Have a good
problem.
one, AJ.
Thank you.
I'd stay
Artie
around,
just
but
got
you guys
diagnosed
already
with
got
COVID.
fast drainage, so.
Oh, yeah, well,
So we're
I'm
gonna have to
sorry.
reschedule
It
the
wasn't more
afternoon.
exciting today.
Okay. You can't do it by phone?
You don't want him trying to do that by phone.
All right.
I was just wondering, would it be better if I slid up with them and?
No, you're good. I think it's fine.
We can make room.
We've all had it, I mean.
Well, I did it a year ago, right? But, so, we probably need to pick a date. Let's do that first before we get into secondary roads. Of when we can, do you guys like Tuesdays? Is that normal board meeting?
I mean, we can do it any day, it just be a special trip as well.
Be nice to get it done. Unless the economy starts going to hell fast, then maybe it'll look better for negotiation. We're talking possible negative cost of living in the next year.
Oh, it's
I
possible.
must have been reading the same stuff you were reading, Terry. I saw that too.
It is surely possible. I will believe it when I see it.
Do we want to go back to that Jim Olin thing? Or did you figure that out?
I guess I'd be okay with the 3 on that.
3,000 for the Historical
Yeah,
Society.
I guess I don't have a problem with it either.
And so Riley Lewis has been asking around too about doing something special for the courthouse because the courthouse is, what, 100
Historical, we're on the National Register.
Are you open on Monday?
Yes.
The 21st? President's Day?
No, we're-
Work President's Day.
How about I've got to be in Cerro Gordo on the 24th at 10:30, but that won't take, could we do 1 o'clock would that work for the board? Thursday, the 24th at 1?
it says
That can make it work.
And I'll email Artie right now.
24th works for me.
Just have to have a backup plan for picking up the grandson. If we're not done.
And that's for the unions. Oh, we're not doing that today?
Party is COVID.
Oh,
He just got diagnosed. He just called me this morning on the way up and said he just tested positive.
wonderful. The good news is, it's gonna be the warmest day of the week.
I know.
Now I can go out and do something. I don't have to sit inside during a relatively warm day.
You said 1 o'clock?
And,
Let's hold that, and I've just sent him an email to make sure.
we should probably get back to the boilers quick. We're gonna go with 10 in the budget for that, and then how much you think?
50.
You wanna go 50 each year to bank up for a new boiler? Well, that would be for everything, that would be one
For
for everything, but,
Well, at least, I think for sure that within the next couple of years, we need to do the outside boiler and the rooftop chiller. And that's 87,000 and 67,000.
so.
So in a couple of years, we'd have enough to,
the
Couple,
top
3 years.
chiller, is that bad?
well, if we're having problems keeping the coolant in it
Yeah,
and
but it would cost much less than put in the compressor than now. 95% chance it's the compressor.
well, and if in a couple of years we don't think we're gonna need it, then we can,
Yeah, all right, we go with 50, I guess, it's still considerably less where we were at, so
yeah,
10 for that, or.
10 for maintenance and 50 for banking it up.
Okay,
Or emergency repair.
Emergency repair,
That's right.
yeah.
that way you don't have to cough it up when it's not in the budget, I guess.
Right.
10,000, you could probably go in and have it diagnosed come spring. They can find the leak or not. Maybe in the summer, it could start to replaced or something.
It's, you know, with automotive air conditioning, you can work about corrosion, rusting out your, I can't say it. One's the condenser, and the other one is the one on the outside, out by the radiator.
That one.
Yeah, that one.
Did you ever see this? Melissa gave that to me. That's the circulation numbers. Mason City Globe is down below 5,000.
Wow.
We got the summit you're doing in town and in Britt. And they're, the lowest in the county as far as distribution, biggest town, and plus another town, at the lowest distribution.
It's because you can't get a hold of them. They don't have a phone number you can call them, or you don't, I tried to email
I
them.
saw where this Lee Enterprises that owns the two of them.
Yeah.
The Globe and everything, there's a hostile takeover.
Saw that.
Out
Oh.
of some hedge firm out of New York is trying to do a hostile takeover of a whole bunch, because it includes the Chicago Tribune and stuff like that. So they're just
Also, they
small
can make
fish.
propaganda rags out of them. Because we got very, very few companies owning all of our.
So, we need to adjourn the regular meeting.
Do we have a motion?
No, you just.
Oh, you just, okay, we stand adjourned.
So did we ever get them an initial?
The guys?
Yeah.
No.
Okay, so I sent you up a draft, right, of what
Yes,
we could
and
fill
I
in?
just gave that to them.
Okay,